Hi, Michael.
Hey, nice buzz cut. Looking
I know I'm
good.
reflecting. I'm reflecting the
Yeah,
light.
luminous.
It's actually lit
You're
up my picture, I
homo
think, a bit more.
luminous.
How's your day been?
Ah, pretty good. I tried to sleep most of it 'cause I'm on night shifts now, but
Oh, yeah.
um, yeah, it's hard to sleep during the day. I'm
It
not
really
doing good
is,
at it.
yeah, going against your body clock.
Yeah,
Uh-huh. I know the nights are really nice for kind of creativity and relaxing. It's quite hard to get your body into gear to do work, I think.
yeah, I agree. The first two nights are not bad, but then yeah, last night I was pretty tired.
Uh-huh.
Didn't do much work,
Oh, right.
which
Sorry
is
to hear
fine by me, but
that. Yeah. No, it's all the balance that you just try to achieve.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, I should probably you guys knew that the meeting was just maybe I should send out a notification here.
Uh-huh. Yeah, because I didn't get an email. I went on to Dojo and I used the link in the Esoteric group. I didn't get any emails, so yeah, other people might not.
Yeah, I don't think they would,
That's
so
what I did too. So I didn't get an email, but
yeah, well, because of this issue we were having with notifications, people leaving because they were getting too
Oh
many
yeah,
notifications, we kind of shut
yeah.
some stuff off.
Everybody gets a message when one is sent.
Yeah, now that won't happen, but
Uh-huh. But it's also affected the notifications for this the chat.
yeah, we're gonna fix this hopefully.
Hey, Michael, if you can hear me, can you give me permission to record?
Yeah, absolutely. Give me a sec here. I'm just Okay. All right, there you go. Should be good. Let me know.
Thank you.
Oh, James, I got a question for you. The chat in Dojo Earth, I was getting a notification sound every time someone posted in the chat. Is there a way to turn that off?
Yeah, one option is to right click on the tab and hit mute site.
Okay.
And another is somewhere inside the chat. I just can't remember where exactly, but there's a setting there somewhere.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you right now.
Oh yeah, no worries.
I could turn that off site wide, make it the default where there is no sound.
Some people might like it, but when I'm on there, it can get a bit much. But I'm just trying to set up our page and stuff. But I just turned off my sound, and it was fine. I did look in the settings, and I couldn't find a mute for it, but I'll try that other way.
Yeah, I found it once before, but it took me a while.
How's it going, Michael?
Good. How you doing, Eric?
Good. Did you have to work?
I did have to work last night, and I tried to sleep as much as I could today, but difficulties during the day sleeping. And I do have to work right after this, so we'll have to shut her down right on time. But
Yeah, I remember having to work night shift a lot in the Navy, and it was weird getting used to it at first, and then I loved it being up in the middle of the night.
I do like it, but when I get used to it, I have to switch back. So there's that. I've got yeah, I only do 4 nights in a row every 6 weeks, so it's not too bad. And I do love the quiet and just having no one around, walking around. There's something really magical about it. But also after not sleeping for a few days, and then I start getting used to it, and then I get in kind of the groove, and then it changes back to day shift. So
Are we expecting Silver tonight?
I'm not sure. I think so. He has
He was just messaging me, so I figured he'd be here.
yeah, he should be here. I don't know. He doesn't. Oh, maybe I should send him the link. Yeah. Could you do that actually, or if you have a chance? I think
Yeah.
he probably doesn't have the link. I'm just getting the page here. We didn't send out an email either, because of this notification business. So we may have people joining in later, trying to figure it out. Although, Eric, check your email. I may have sent one just like 5 minutes ago. I don't know if it worked though.
Hang on, I'm gonna send him the link.
Yeah, cool. Okay, Amanda got it, so we're good. I'm just gonna wait just a little bit here before I start too, because you shared it on Facebook. Awesome. We'll get this sorted out. It's all new right now.
No, I didn't get an email from you, Michael.
Okay. It's probably a notification within the Dojo Earth group then. Maybe not an
Yeah,
email.
you can. So Amanda figured out how to, you go to your settings under your profile and you go to email settings and you can unclick the button to get emails if groups send you a message. So like what you put in that group, when people were responding to it, if they unclick that button, they won't get the email, but they'll still get the little notifications when they go on Dojo Earth up in the top right-hand corner.
What I do like is having the ability to use that group messaging for us, so that we do send out emails. But I do think they get notified too if someone leaves or joins the group, which could,
There's
be
a whole
annoying.
lot of different email settings. So like you can customize it to what you want to get in an email.
Yeah, we'll do that. Elizabeth just got an email, so it did send it out. So I'm just gonna wait a little bit here, but we have Alex doing a little bit of a presentation. He'll take probably the first half hour, 45. Is that about right, Alex?
Yeah, I think maybe even half an hour or so.
Okay, yeah.
And if you want to ask questions or anything.
Yeah, half hour is good. And then we have everyone's projects, and I'm excited to show you all of them because they're pretty great, and I'd love to hear from you guys about them as well. We're still missing a few people that said they would be here, so hopefully they get this email, but if not, we'll
I
have
think
to start.
25 in last week, was there?
Yeah, something like that.
How are you, Eric?
What's that?
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Yeah, I got inspired by your poetry last time, and it was an interesting little experiment.
All right. Well, let's start it off. There's a few people maybe that are on their way, but they can jump in when they get that email. And yeah, was there anything we wanted to go over, Eric? I know you had something you wanted to talk about.
I'll probably just mention it after Alex is done, like when we get to the projects that people did with the words.
Okay, great. Yeah, it's awesome. I read some of it there. It's really cool, and I'm excited about that kind of project. It'll be yeah, we'll talk about it later. Okay, Alex, why don't you start us off here and let me know what you want to see on screen.
Sure. So I do art, music, and perfume. And art and music has just been a hobby for a long time, like a casual, expressive art that I didn't really show anywhere. I didn't really put it out. It was just a personal project. And maybe we can look at a bit of the art first, if you want, Michael, and then I'll kind of lead that into the perfumery.
Here, let me click here.
And my artwork's all like unfinished. It's not like Michael's where it's really crisp and clean and beautifully finished. A lot of mine was kind of getting directly in the moment and just expressing what I felt without any preconceptions or trying to think of what to draw. So it would just, that's why some of it was on lined paper. It just started as a little abstract doodle and then expanded out. And a lot of the time I found that when I looked back on them, that a lot of the events or state of mind was kind of shown that I couldn't really express in words at the time, but I did it in another form. And I think this is just something that I've always done, is just express emotion through different mediums other than words. So it's one of the particular ones up there. Maybe the, can you see the one with the eye in the middle and the two hands?
Yeah, let's do that here. Right there?
I'm just seeing the folder at the moment, not the actual.
Oh, what? Okay, on my screen it shows me
Oh, okay.
the.
I don't know, can anybody else see the full picture or just the folder?
Okay, here. That is okay. You're what I'm gonna have to do. Sorry,
No
we're
problem.
gonna stop screen share. And also, I'm not sure if because I think we are live here, right? So, we can describe these images a little bit for the people just listening.
Uh-huh.
But I'm gonna stop screen share. We're gonna screen share the actual folder. And you guys should see this now.
Yeah, so this was the one I did when I'd kind of went out of my comfort zone. I'd went to Thailand, and it was one of the first kind of long trips away, and getting stung by mosquitoes and kind of making friends over there, visiting temples and loads of stuff. And it all kind of impacted just on that mind state. And there was lots of things I couldn't express in words from what I experienced, but it just came out intuitively in some art. And a lot of it I still don't understand myself. Like I don't understand the symbology of a lot of things within it. It's just something that automatically kind of happens, and later on I can see some resonance but not fully understand it. If you want to maybe go to another one, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this one I did a kind of better one that was small, and it was again like the Thailand inspired temples and things like this, just things that I'd seen around. And then like mandala effects, I have this thing with symmetry that I really enjoy, and I see that in your work too, Michael. And it kind of has some like fractal geometry to it.
It's beautiful, and I get an Escher-esque feel to this.
Yeah,
Feels like
Escher
in
was one of my favorite. Geiger and Escher, I really enjoyed their artwork, and Hieronymus Bosch,
yeah,
Salvador Dali. But yeah, mine were really just doodles. Like I went to art school and I dropped out of art school because I really didn't want to make it a profession. They've always been hobbies of just trying to keep it very personal and true as a form of expression instead of marketing it as a business. But the perfume did get into that, which we'll get into in a little bit. Would you go to the next one, please, Michael?
absolutely. When you start your doodles, how do you start them? Like
Usually in the central part, like in a very small thing like this one, you could already see the lines where I just put the geometry to kind of, I just felt in that mood to be kind of have a structure that was like, I think like an undergrowth of knowledge where the intuition can take root and go from that. And because I didn't have a really good foundation in art, I just always doodled, and I didn't learn other styles of drawing. It was always just my own style. I was quite stubborn like that. And then, yeah, fractals always interested me. So it kind of just bloomed out, like nature intertwined with machines and things that I guess I've seen around me, like being really into nature, but living in the city and seeing machines all around you, that I can see where Geiger comes from with his artwork, where it's kind of a lot of root emotions combined with like this industrial approaching society. would you like to go on to the next one, please, Michael?
Absolutely. Just give me a sec here.
That's cool. That one.
Oh shoot.
I
I
think
had
there's maybe
these
just one more.
this
that
one
was,
here.
yeah,
That's
this
what
one.
we started on, yeah. But
Yeah.
you couldn't see the screen.
Yeah, so this one was the one I did get a bigger canvas, and I did have an intent, but I didn't know how it would turn out. It was really just playing with kind of symmetry and shapes, and then it turned into this. I would always turn it 180 degrees and start working on it that way. So this one you can see from two angles, and it's a kind of machine like alien on the bottom with a kind of human on the top of it. But again, I just don't imbue meaning into them like yours are. You tend to set out with a purpose, I think, perhaps in your paintings, Michael, whereas
Sometimes.
yeah,
Sometimes not.
yeah, they look very fluid as well. Like you get into that state of flow and
Yeah.
things disappear, and you sometimes don't really technically analyze it. But yeah, maybe
This
if
is I just want to say how beautiful the symmetry is here. For those who can't see, it's pretty amazing the job you've done in replicating each side.
and that one I could have advanced so much more. Like it has a really good foundation to advance into something, but I would lose the mood when I did something. I would go on to something else after spending maybe 8 hours just in the zone on it, and then it would get left again. But with the perfumery, I think, and the music especially, when I got into music, it was a bit more of a discipline where I had to kind of create this structure and have a lot of technical understanding of the software, and then the intuitive process could take place on top of that founding of knowledge. So I think this is a really good base to work from with creativity, is when you're interested in something, learn that technical side of it first, and that'll allow you the freedom to work a lot more creatively over that. And the good example is kind of my art. It was just very brief doodles of trying to express things, whereas the music got a bit more expressive again. And then with the perfumery, it really took a huge leap into like altering your own brain chemistry. And this is kind of the main part of what I wanted to talk about, is how all forms of creativity manipulate our own brain chemistry or other people's brain chemistry. But this is all dependent on, like how James would put it, our kind of individual mind castles, or how I might put it is how many filters we put up. So with artwork, say for example, somebody looks at this piece of art, they might immediately be turned off it because they like color and they have certain things in place that they want to see. So when they don't see them, that filter can obstruct that flow of feeling from the piece of artwork. So I found with music that can break down more boundaries, because you can kind of fool people with, say, really ambient introductions that might make them feel comfortable, and then introduce factors that are uncomfortable or contrasting, which can interact with their filters that they have. And the music that I used to do is like really crazy kind of experimental electronic music, but fusing it with traditional old styles of music. And I found that theme continued into the perfume. So I would take kind of traditional concepts of perfumery, all the natural essential oils and things that they would distill by hand that alchemists would use, or early perfumers, and then try and use the kind of Western creativity on those traditional foundations. So some of the things I thought, what I'll go through first is like my aim with perfume has always been to kind of explore avenues that other people are not exploring with perfume, and also the psychology, the physiology, the psychology and the physiology of perfumery, really, and how different materials can cause your brain to secrete different chemicals. And we have 400 different receptors on our olfactory bulb. And it's the one sense that doesn't go through any filters first. So if we touch something, our brain translates the texture into electronic signals, which go directly to the brain. So what we're actually touching might not feel like that, but this is how our body's translated it. Whereas smell, when it touches the olfactory bulb here, the brain immediately responds to it without it going to the thalamus. So the thalamus is the red part in the center, which is part of the limbic system, which controls emotion and memory mostly. So when we smell, let's take another sense, for example, when we're touched, it would go to the thalamus, and then the thalamus would decide whether that is a threat or something pleasurable or something different. It could be a signal that it's hot or cold or spiky or fluffy, whatever. So the thalamus would decide where that signal is going to go and how you're going to react. If that was a kind of flirtatious touch, it might go to your pineal gland, where you would, let me see, I've got all of the chemicals written down here, what you would secrete. Or the pituitary gland, so it'd secrete endorphins if it was something pleasurable. And if it, when we smell something though, it actually touches the olfactory bulb, we get an immediate reaction that precedes the thalamus. So the amygdala and the hippocampus immediately are connected to the olfactory bulb, and they link to memory and emotion. So we can smell something, and before our brain has figured out what it is we've smelled, our amygdala and hippocampus are already processing memory and emotion. So say if we, like our grandfather might have smoked cigars, and the smell of cigars kind of lingered in our memory in early childhood, and then we not smelled them for a long time, maybe 30 years later, and you smell a specific type of cigar again, that emotion and memory would precede the neocortex's decision on what to do with that information first. So it would bypass all of your logical mind, almost go straight to the subconscious and connect to a memory, and you might feel emotional straight away from that memory. So this is kind of how scent is like the odd one out, that all of these other senses can be go through the thalamus first, whereas smell we can actually sense, and we can actually physically, our brain physically touches the smells. And there's a kind of fact that you might never ever want to know here, but when you smell something, it actually makes contact with your brain. So if you've ever kind of changed a nappy or anything, that is direct contact. That's why your brain, when your thalamus starts to get that message, your thalamus will send that to the fear or revulsion part of your brain, where it'll be like, this is a likely threat, it's rotten, it's unpleasant, and you'll have an immediate physical reaction. Your body will take over and cause you to recoil or cover your mouth or limit your breathing as well. So it just shows how powerful smell actually is. And we can use this in perfumery with something called the anatomy of disgust. So our brain really, really enjoys to be lit up, regardless of it being positive or negative. So we can introduce ingredients that cause the brain to light up more, but hide them in a way that it's not quite perceivable, but our subconscious detects it and finds it more engaging. So there's certain materials like civet, which comes from a civet cat, ambergris, which comes from whales' digestive tract. When they eat squids, the stomach secretes a fat that protects the whale's stomach from the really sharp squid beaks. Then it poops that out. It floats on the ocean for, it's been said that it can be thousands of years that ambergris can actually be on the ocean, and it'll change from a black color all the way to white and have the most amazing aroma when it gets to a white color when it's been purified. But this black ambergris, which smells like feces, can even be added into perfumes to cause a lot of contrast, and that creates more excitement in the brain. So if you mix, say, black ambergris with rose, you'll get a really interesting combination where the brain's excited and comforted by the rose and it associates it with luxury, but the ambergris is actually causing a kind of revulsion that is lighting up another part of the brain. And it's so complex that even like scientists who have spent 10 years in this field still don't really understand how the brain reacts to smell. And but a little kind of lead into this is some studies I've been doing with trying to make perfumes that affect specific parts of the brain. And I've been doing experiments with myself, and my friend inspired me. Today's my bergamot day, and I'm just smelling bergamot like all day, and then see how the bergamot affects my mood, and write a notebook based on how this is, like how I perceive it, the colors I perceive, the shape I perceive, the feelings I'm getting, where I'm feeling stimulated in my body, in my head or my chest or wherever. Just write down everything intuitively about it, and then look at other oils that affect similar parts of the brain. So look through my notes here. The certain smells like clary sage, jasmine, patchouli, and ylang ylang are all said to be aphrodisiac oils. And when people have been smelling them in MRI machines, the pituitary gland lights up. So this is responsible for arousal. So those oils can directly cause arousal in people. So that they are like natural aphrodisiac oils, but they're very, very subtle. Some people think like they'll message me saying, "Oh, can you make me a perfume that is going to be like attract the women?" And they think they're going to dive at their feet. And it's like perfume doesn't really work like that. It's a very subtle thing, and everybody has these individual filters in their mind, like mind castles. So if I smell clary sage and I write down a description of it, it might be very different from what you would write down and analyze from it, because I try and I have about maybe 600 different smells, maybe more, in this room. And when you smell all of them, you kind of build an olfactory library. It's maybe like color, like an artist that will know the intricate details between different colors and their effect on the mood. Is that perfume is that direct like mood palette. So essentially when you're using perfume, you're a kind of chemist that's operating with your own brain chemistry and other people's brain chemistry at the same time. So we have a better sense of smell than most animals, which is kind of contradictory to what science has told us for a while. And it is, we have the widest palette that we know of in smell. So we have 400 different receptors, but each, when two combinations are lit up, that can create the illusion of a new smell. So that is kind of 400 over 400, which is likely to be close to 1 billion, I'm guessing, amount of different smells we can actually perceive. Whereas dogs can perceive them, but they don't have as wide a palette as us. They couldn't differentiate brandy from rum, or like a sommelier could detect the year of a specific wine, and he could detect the region where that wine is from. So our ability to train our sense of smell is like extremely, the limits are really, really high. Like there's a lady who can smell Parkinson's disease in people. So she gets a particular odor from Parkinson's disease and can tell when people have it, and she would alert them, which is quite fascinating.
I just wanted to relate an experience I had quickly when I changed my diet to a keto diet. It changed my whole sense of smell. I could smell things that I could like I didn't smell before. I just want to say that like it's so interesting, and I'm really loving this. I think everyone is too. And also, I'd love for you to to talk about maybe how to program experience with scent.
Sure. Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like it could also be logged. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think maybe I'll run over these other parts of the brain because they're quite interesting. And it seems that there's kind of 6 areas of the brain where the thalamus will send things to, or the amygdala and the hippocampus is directly affected. Then the thalamus can send it to several other places. So certain oils like bergamot, frankincense, geranium, and rosewood are considered regulating oils. So they can regulate your mood essentially. So if you're feeling kind of really anxious, smelling bergamot can really increase confidence. And I've noticed this today, like I had a real boost today from just sniffing bergamot all day. And all of this sounds like stuff I should have known for a very long time, but this is actually like 2 days of going over things that I was already doing, and then I'm later discovering all of the effects. So I'd made oils that specifically targeted parts of the brain. When I read all about it later, I was like, wow, that I was just tuning in, like thinking, right, I want to make a smell that's like incredibly sedative and really like hypnotic, so that when you smell it, it just kind of puts you into a deep kind of blissful trance state. And I knew it was finished when it had that effect. And then when I'd sold that, the people that got it described that same effect from it, like, wow, this is really like hypnotic. It kind of puts you in a mental state straight away. And now I'm discovering that mixing kind of 30 different oils together in one blend, I would blend from colors. So get like the very darkest color palette, like something like labdanum, which is incredibly thick black oil. It's one of the oils that were used in Ketaret, I think the ancient Egyptian perfume that they'd the formula of. And then all the way up to oils that have a facet of labdanum, like rose, and then fill in the gaps in between, like every oil that I can find that fills in the gaps between this kind of purple range of smell. And then, yeah, that just had a really profound effect on the mind when I made them. And I thought, right, I'm interested to kind of put this out now. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I do this a lot. So the regulating oils, they go to the hypothalamus. And so if you have like mood disorders or depression or even menstrual problems or menopause, these regulating oils can assist in regulating hormones in a positive way. And a side note is that synthetics can actually disrupt those same hormones. So I found quite an interesting thing, like, and I don't know the etymology of this still, but it entered my mind that sin is either alongside or against, and thetic is God relating to God. So synthetic is kind of alongside or opposed to God. It's so it's replicating the natural world, and we see this in like art and music as well, with all electronic music, and it's went away from natural music with certain resonances to it, and this just interested me for a bit. But on another, back to this, euphoric oils like clary sage, grapefruit, jasmine again, and rose otto are sent to the thalamus, which will secrete enkephalins, and they can also help boost confidence and again alter the mood, because they're all going through the limbic system. So like what Michael touched on, memories can be stored alongside smells, but we'll get into that in a little bit because it's still a new area for me. And then next, the amygdala and the hippocampus are mostly stimulated. That's like memory stimulation and mental stimulation. So black pepper, lemon, rosemary, and peppermint all give you that really awake feeling, like it's an instant stimulation. If you cut the lemon or if you crush black pepper, you'll get that like spicy, invigorating feeling from it. And that can, there's many different chemicals that are secreted. There's not just one through the amygdala and hippocampus. And then next, certain oils are sent to a back part of the brain called the Raphae Nucleus. And this is oils that are really interesting to use with people with ADHD or autism or Asperger's, and it's chamomile, lavender, marjoram, bergamot, and neroli. And all of these, when the thalamus picks them up, they send it to the Raphae Nucleus at the back part of the brain, and that secretes serotonin. So there's been aromatherapists that have said when they've had somebody who is having like a tantrum or a fit, that they've given them blue chamomile, and instantly it can cut down tantrums and like real emotional outbursts. So it's like a direct kind of chemical alteration to add serotonin into your brain just through sniffing these oils. And another little side note was that when animals sniff things, they sniff repeatedly, like really, really fast, like when a dog smells something. And this excites the brain too. We tend to take long smells of things, which bore the brain sometimes. So when we sniff something repeatedly, this increases the brain's excitation and it releases more of those chemicals. So it's a good way if you feel really stressed out, is repeatedly sniffing a particular oil that you enjoy. And the last part of this was invigorating oils like cardamom, juniper, lemongrass, and rosemary, which go to the locus ceruleus. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which is a little bit towards the front of the brain, in front of the limbic system, and that secretes noradrenaline. And these are ones that relate much more to memory. And there's been tests done with rosemary that have shown that it increases memory. And if you have like a test to do or some cramming, sniffing rosemary intermittently through your study will help embed that memory with the smell. So you could wear a little bit of this to like a test, or when you have to remember something, and sniff it and assist in that mental recall. But this subject gets so much deeper because our brain is wired certain ways to detect things that we share in common with nature. So jasmine has an aromatic chemical. One of its 300 aromatic chemicals is jasmone. And when we die, we start to secrete jasmone. So it has like a very direct relationship with death and humans. And also it affects this sensuous part of the brain, which we're relating like death with sex with jasmine, which is quite an interesting little side note. But yeah, I've got notes kind of scrawled all over. My notes are so confusing even to myself, because I just got into this flow state and started to write like 9 pages the other day. And yeah, I think that's most of it. The conclusion that I came to was that with smell, you can kind of challenge people's filters and their emotional responses to memories through smell, but it would be on a very individual person-to-person basis. And you would probably have to smell a lot of oils until you find something that evokes a memory, and then work with that oil and with other oils to kind of shape that memory into something more pleasant. But that's a kind of avenue, a very real avenue for kind of an advanced aromatherapy, because I used to do aromatherapy and I just took it all as like, I don't know, I see things on a whole different level now, where it has such a practical application to use these as directly altering your brain chemistry to make yourself kind of better and more intuitive as well, because it goes into that, you're working in that subconscious realm straight away. All of these oils are invisible in their nature. They're physical bottles and physical liquid, but when that bottle's opened and that aroma comes out, you can't see the aroma anymore, and it becomes hard to define and pass that information on to another person. If I was to try and describe this oil as best as I could, you still wouldn't be able to have that full experience of that expression in the perfume. Maybe you can open it up to questions.
As you mix an oil,
Mhm.
Do you feel like you are also programming some of yourself within that? Like you were talking about the experience of you feeling something and then sending this oil away, and it's a mixed oil that you've created, and others experiencing the same thing. Do you think there's a portion of yourself that goes within in these oils?
Yeah, definitely, 100%, because it's just like the art, where it's a personal experience, and it's like what we talked about last week, where um, the art is kind of, it comes in from all the outside, and then it's mixed in with the inside feelings and where your filters are and what you want to show. So for me, I try to be as open as I can so that I can smell things for how they really are, like that materials don't disgust me. Even the most unpleasant materials I'll find a use for within and that's always something I try to do, even if I find something really disgusting and I want to work it into a structure that it can work in. So that's my personality of like trying to push things as far as I can with perfumery, and also imprinting my mood at that time, like a state of mind that either I'm trying to reach or that I'm in. And that's kind of embodied within the artwork or the music. The music very much, because I get into a kind of hypnotic state when I'm making music, especially listening to it on a loop again and again. It's like you enter a state of mind and then you enhance and detail that as it goes along. And it's the same with the perfume. Yeah, I usually smell an oil, it kind of inspires me like a single oil, and then I kind of want to build around that a whole structure to support it, but also imbue into that my DNA. And other customers alerted me onto this, that they could smell my oils among like 30 different perfumers because it had a certain trait to it, and that they noticed being collectors different perfumers' DNA. And that's something obviously I didn't notice myself because I don't smell other people's perfumes much. I just make my own, get in my own world with it. I think James.
That's amazing. Yeah, James does have a question. Did you read it there, Alex?
I did, yes, about smelling salts.
Yeah.
It's actually something I don't know a great deal about. I know like about the vapor inhalers, but really I don't know a great deal about smelling salts. But I'm guessing they're infused salt with essential oils. So I'm not quite sure what effect the salt would have to add anything apart from hold that essential oil longer, because the salts absorb all the liquid. So they would hold the essential oil within the salt. So then when you shake it up, you agitate the oil, you'll smell the essential oil. So essentially, you are smelling the essential oil raw like that. And that little tube will give it more room for the vapor to accumulate within. So yeah, I think you'll get a big blast of your brain secreting chemicals in response to that stimulus.
Eric. Oh,
go
sorry.
Go ahead, Silver.
I was going to ask if anyone has a color chart with smell, like if there was.
Oh, yeah, I did have one. I wish I'd sent to Michael, but I have lots of different ones for all different things. And I'm actually making my own, which is a bit more complicated than the 2D. It's a 3D square of how all scent relates to each other. And it's still a kind of concept I'm struggling with how to try and display this. But like I said before, some of the perfumes I do, I set some restrictions for myself. Like one was called Rêve Rouge, which was red dream in French, and it was all red materials. So I started with like a really unusual oil. I forget the name at the moment, but this colored everything red. And then I tried to add everything red to that, or neutral, so it didn't alter the color. So give myself some like boundaries to work within and see if that could make something minimal, but also explore creativity within that boundary.
Awesome.
Off track on your,
we can try to find some of those charts, and you could send them to me, and we can put them into the Dojo Earth page. That'd be great. And we've got Brent with a question here. Grant, go ahead, man.
Thank you, Michael. Oh yeah, very interesting. I'm on. Really got my mind going on this one. Could you make me a perfume like designed for? Let's go to excursions into Babylon. You know, where you're going to meet certain cultural resistances and so forth, but it'd be kind of like the Jedi mind trick thing, like these are not the droids you're looking for. You know, this is not the unmasked face you're looking for. Is there a hint that you have from your description? I think there might be.
Perhaps. I think a couple of perfumes that I'd tried to do were smells that really annoyed me, perfumes that really annoyed me that were I would smell all around. One was like a particular woman's perfume around tuberose and jasmine, and I smell it everywhere. And I wanted to kind of alchemically transmute that oil to something really pleasant and natural, but it had the same kind of structure. That's maybe along those lines a little bit. What you're talking about, maybe with the color chart, like purple is kind of got this dominating mystical aura about it, that when you have it, one of my friends was wearing Custodian, and this is from beaver glands, and we make oils from this. I make it myself and make it into an absolute, which is like a condensed, concentrated, pure form of the aromatic chemicals from the beaver gland. And this has a really amazing effect. Like some of these musk oils, they kind of defy all of the normal rules of perfumery. So perfumery kind of goes in 8 colors from what this is my own interpretation of perfumery, not somebody else's, that it has 8 colors, but there's a kind of 9th rainbow effect that can have elements of all of the other colors, and musks are those. So deer musk is the most prized thing in perfumery. It's like a transcendent material, and it can actually abort babies. If you are pregnant and smell deer musk or get it on your skin, it sends messages to abort the baby. But it can actually heal the heart as well if you are not pregnant. It's one of these risky things for pregnancy. And I forget, I did whole charts on all of the aromatic chemicals in these musks, and I tried to figure out the physiology of like how it's affecting the body, but it's all a science still in progress, so it's very hard to know. But these musks, I think, can have a dominating aura, and things in the purple realm like labdanum and castoreum and propolis from bees, it just has this like smell to it that I think can confuse people's minds, like almost like that Jedi aura where people are like, this is a bit otherworldly smelling, it doesn't smell of this world. But that's as close as I can get. I don't know about making a kind of mind control perfume.
Doesn't it represent the highest frequency? I mean, in terms of the color spectrum, ultraviolet. And so my curious thought comes up with the idea that, do you think hormone disruptors are available in like purple or these things for men and then red for women, or is there no sort of correlation there?
The only thing I can maybe add to that is a Greenpeace, which I know are not the most reliable group at all. They did a study on synthetic perfumes, and they put forward that a lot of the modern perfumes contain hormone disruptors within them that mess with testosterone and estrogen within them, so they can disrupt women's cycles. That's all I can really add to that. I don't really know much about synthetic hormone disruptors.
I heard that lilac, though, was recently discovered. It was some science research that suggested that was bad for men in the sense that it might influence you. I mean, if this is something limbic and it has it accesses our thought processes, we probably have to kind of consciously select which one's best for us.
I can definitely add to this. Okay, so IFRA are a kind of governing body over perfumes, and they try to step into naturals as well to try and limit certain materials from being used in commercial perfumes. So things like oak moss, recently jasmine, recently they said lavender. And these are materials that have been used for, I think, millennia for medicines for people. Like jasmine has got a wealth of medicinal properties to it. And so if we're adding jasmine to this list, it's kind of cutting off one of these medicines. And I think it's part of Agenda kind of 2021, 2030 to try and restrict the availability of natural materials. And they're not restricting these hormone disrupting synthetics. They're letting all those through some very unpleasant chemicals like methanol, which is in most modern perfumes, which is really lethal. It's a poison added to ethanol to dissuade people from drinking it. And they use it in perfume as alcohol. So it's something I stay well away from, but that's in all of the modern perfumes as a clear toxin. And yet they're trying to ban things like, they try to tell people that lavender makes men grow breasts. And if that was the case, then I think we would all have breasts now, because, or like farmers working in lavender fields would have breasts. Like, you know, there'd be direct things. Another one was oak moss. And one perfumer was saying the perfumers that work directly with the oak moss get all of the oak moss on their hands. That IFRA are saying this is photo sensitizing, so that if you get it on your skin, it can burn you. But the people who work with it, they have no issues directly working with this oak moss. And it might be that they build up a chemical resistance, and that oak moss can be sensitizing to some very sensitive skin types. But when you dilute it into like a 0.3% ratio, it's not going to have any bearing, especially when you mix it with oils that are very beneficial for the skin.
Thanks. Eric, why don't you go ahead, man?
Yeah, Alex, I wanted to ask you if you know anything about what goes into incense. You know, it got me thinking about how incense has been burned for thousands of years in ceremonies and rituals. And I know that there are some oils that go into making it. Do you know anything about that, and what those particular oils they like to use might do?
I know a little bit about it. There's a couple of people who are much, much more experienced than me that I buy some materials from them sometimes. But most incense now is like adulterated with lots of cheap woods, and it's quite hard to get real incense now. But the real incense that, say the Tibetan incense, they would ground things like onycha, is they call it snail's doors or devil's fingernails. And it's from a snail. It's actually the door that snail pulls closed on its shell. So they collect these snail doors, they dry it, they soak it in wine, which was the ancient recipe for, is it Keteret? I might be getting mixed up with one of the words here. There's a perfume in the Bible with 10 materials, and I think it's called Keteret, but I might be getting mixed up here. But anyway, onycha is one of the materials. They would soak it in red wine, then char it gently, and then crush it up, and then they'd add like clove to it, cinnamon, nutmeg, spikenard, cypriol, which is nagamotha, all kinds of things around. And a lot of the time the base would be honey, especially in the really, really high quality Chinese incense. They would use honey as a binder. And sometimes they would mix rare oils with that honey to make it a little bit more liquid. And arga wood was like the central point of all high quality incense and perfume. Like rarely any perfume I make doesn't have arga wood in it.
Super cool. Eric, did you have anything else to add there?
No, that was it. Yeah, James just listed the ingredients in the chat.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I think labdanum, costus, I see there, cinnamon, there's onycha, frankincense, which they're called olibanum, Shekinah, that's what it is, but the Holy of Holies. I actually tried to make this. I have this bottle here, and it was a similar one from the Egyptian one called Keteret, and it's those 10 materials, but I struggled to get the balance. It contains saffron as well as one of the main components of it.
Are there any scents that can cause euphoria?
Yeah, definitely. And I think they tend to be quite specific to people, but there's certain ones that I think affect most people. One of the most potent is marjoram, for like its incredibly sedating effect. If you have a bath and put 3 drips of marjoram in it, it can leave you like struggling to walk back to your bed. It's that sedating. Labdanum too, for more euphoric, like frankincense can be really euphoric, and deer musk especially. Those musks can be very euphoric. And any of those like Brazilian resins. So it's quite an interesting like little topic in perfumery of tree resins, and they're used like in those ancient recipes like labdanum and frankincense and myrrh and copal, apoponax, benzoin, all of these things. The trees exude this resin. Then there's a simple purification process through ethanol or alcohol to remove the impurities, and then evaporate off the alcohol and ethanol, and you're left with a pure resin, a resinoid they would call it. I've got loads of these about from lots of different materials, and yeah, they're very euphoric, especially when you blend. I've noticed when you blend an essential oil, which is like the spirit, the soul, sorry, in alchemy, the tincture, which is the spirit in alchemy, and the absolute, which again would probably be the essential oil, because in perfumery the salts are missing. Like salts don't play the aromatic part in it, but I'm experimenting with this, and a friend is as well, that maybe the salts can add that something to it that I'm not seeing it would add, but it might actually add something really valuable to the oil. But it would be best possibly if it was calcinated salts from one of the plants, so it would be a true calcinated salt rather than say adding Himalayan salt or rock salt or something.
Did this get into spagyrics? Similar to
Yeah,
spagyrics?
sure. Yeah, I use some spagyrics in my perfumes as well, as like a tincture and a kind of mystic enhancer. It adds some like otherworldly vibe to it.
Very cool. Well, this is amazing. Thanks so much for sharing this. And I don't see any hands, but if anyone has any more questions for Alex on this, please raise your hand or just speak up. We don't have so many people here, so it's not a big deal.
I don't remember all the ingredients that one was supposed to attain or acquire to convene with the Ark of the Covenant, but I remember there was a presentation that we all watched, I think, that was talking about that. So I'm curious, do you know those specific ingredients? Do some of them overlap with the scents? Do you know if there's?
Aren't they in the chat there?
Oh, perhaps.
There's certain
Yeah.
materials that are like, there's no prime colors in perfumery, that because the way the olfactory bulb works, that we have 400 different receptors. So those 400 are your prime colors. So it's not like painting where, you know, we have 3 prime colors. We have 400 prime colors in perfumery. So it's really hard to know like the combinations to hit on those receptors to evoke something really, really impactful and magical. It's kind of like music, I think. Like, you know, somebody might get some incredible track that they make and it just infects so much of the population with this kind of, it's stuck in their mind and it's staying in their mind, and it gives them their brains secreting chemicals all the time to this music. Well, there's the film called what's it, Murder Story of a Perfumer. But I might be getting the title mixed up. It's quite a funny, over-the-top movie. Perfume Story of a Murderer. I think that's it, or Murder Story of a Perfumer. One of those two. But anyway, the guy, he sets out to make like this most amazing scent, and what he finds, it's actually from the skin of women. So he sets out. It just gets so stupid, this movie. wraps these women in a cloth to kind of get the smell of their sweat out, and then he takes that cloth and he distills it and gets a very small amount of oil of this, like oil of this woman, and he combines 11 women together to make this scent that is like that Jedi scent that everybody falls at his feet. Everybody's like, he can't do anything wrong because he's like purified this most kind of prized scent. But the movie starts amazingly, and then it goes into really crazy territory.
James just said something in the chat which made me kind of think. He said it's a recipe for, so he was referring to what you were speaking of, Silver, the recipe for.
I might get killed if I go to Israel then for making this.
Oh, yeah, Shekinah. So it's there's the death penalty in Israel for it. This makes me think that possibly they are creating a space in time with this scent. You know, like a scents have some kind of space and time, and you experiencing that scent will place you in that space. So having this holy scent that is only for a specific thing, and everyone that experiences it is in a certain state of mind. You know, it's maybe like they're trying not to taint that space that the smell creates, and this is very, very interesting.
Yeah, I think perhaps like I'm really interested in trying to light up the brain as much as possible with scent. So sometimes I stick to one field, but other times I try to link everything together where it's like everything I've learned and try and put it all in one perfume so that it like lights up the brain as much as possible. And it causes a lot of conflicting emotions. It's quite unusual when I make a perfume like that's really complicated. Like one of them, I think it got over 100 materials in it, and it branched kind of oriental, fougere, gourmand, like citrus, animalic, like all different sections of perfume into one, and lots and lots of hidden scents within it. And I'd be really interested to like see what happens in an MRI when people smell like specific perfumes that I've made. That'd be so interesting, but very hard to gather that info.
Or to take it to another level, to sort of marry together what Brent was saying with what you're saying, an MRI with somebody experiencing a 5-base sense reality via each one of these senses demarcated for that personal being. So like you were saying that every person's smell is a little bit different, and then you add to it, well, it would require that I think all sort of the different 5 senses of would be addressed and customized for the individual. And then that would be similar to convening with the arc in a sense.
Possibly, yeah. I think because perfumery and art and music, all of these creative things are essentially, for lack of a better word, a form of hypnosis. So like what tied in with Michael being that kind of ultimate hypnosis. And I see kind of different meters of hypnosis within perfumery. So like labdanum and all of these really dark materials get you in a very sedated state of mind where I think you're very receptive and fluid, but in a very slow state. And then there's opposite oils, which really excite you and get you into a kind of very inspired, meditative, focused state. But they're both kind of forms of hypnosis. And by me making a perfume, or by me making a piece of music or a piece of art, they all carry that, like it's charged with some energy from me, and then it's handed over to somebody else, and they're taking that energy in, especially the perfume, because that goes directly to the brain without the filters. Then if you had assisted things of visuals and sounds accompanying that, that somebody could perhaps experience what you experienced as close as possible. And that would be like perhaps ascended language. And I think even symbols and things like that and smells are an ascended language. Well, they're primal and they can be ascended at the same time.
Right, because you're saying it accents a a person's actual fragrance, right? It built on one and then it extends the other. So I guess it would require that you know, you take into account where a person's actual smell or what is that, pheromones of their body is giving off, and then calibrated utilizing some type of an algorithm. You could calibrate that to the individual and make them a custom sort of resolving scent, sound,
Yeah.
visual simulation, so on.
There's actually a lady doing exactly what, like almost exactly what you said, but not with the tinkering. So she gets samples of people's sweat, and she did this as a thesis for a master's degree. So she collected sweat samples from people, like boyfriends of women, that they wanted to be reminded of them. Say like a partner's going away and they want to be reminded of that partner, they would get them to work out, extract some of the sweat, send it to this lady. She would synthesize that sweat into like the main, I think 15 aromatic chemicals, and our body secretes like 200, 300 different aromatic chemicals. But most scents are typified by the first 10. So she would take like 10 or 15 of those aromatic chemicals, recreate it and sell it back to them or give it back to them. And that would be like the sweat of that person. But then that could be advanced upon. But it's so hard to translate and understand because how many aromatic chemicals there are and how each one interacts with other ones. It's a very, very complicated science.
That's pretty amazing too. Yeah, that would be great. But I guess I could see the issue with each sweat being different as well, having different chemicals, right? Like if I work out and sweat, or if I'm lovemaking and I'm sweating, it's probably not the same. But
One
guys,
more thing you can add.
yeah,
One more just little interesting fact is through MRI scans, what they found when they did smell stimulus and visual stimulus, and I don't think they did sound too, but they put people in an MRI and then they exposed them to the smell of sweat of a person, and then they showed them different pictures of like, say, different aged people and different sexes, and they found that the brain would light up. So say if they smelt a certain sweat, it would click through pictures and the brain would light up when it corresponded with the sweat of that particular, not exactly
wow.
person, but the age range. And they said that you can figure out sex, age, and whether they're ill or not through smell alone. And we all have this skill, but we don't know how to consciously discern it.
Well,
That's amazing.
just a quick point to make. It would be like saying though, each of us are what we seek, or what we consider bliss or the divine or something, you know, external that's the best example for us, has to be resolved with our own internal experiences, and therefore these equations need to somehow be customized for an individual. They can't just one size fits all sort of experience, because that's exactly why they resolve that.
But then again, say for example, if I made a perfume with like 30 materials that focused on one part of the brain, and then I gave it to 30 people, and each one of them smelled that, and they kept repeatedly smelling it, my kind of theory is that certain filters in their mind would kind of break down to certain scents that they didn't like, and that you might all start to experience it more similarly to each other over time, the more that you smell it.
So that would be, sorry, that would be like a community smell, not an individual personal smell.
So I think scent has that's the hypnosis part of smell, where smell can actually change your brain chemistry and change your brain structure to probably small degrees, because it just works with memory and emotion. Really, it doesn't really govern everything else, but your mood, you can actually decide whether you like a smell or not. And then I could kind of break down that smell that you don't like by exposing you to it in increasing amounts through a perfume, that it was extremely subtle and then built up until now you no longer have a barrier to that smell.
It just makes me think that if you wanted to adopt a more community-based individual society, you would have sort of a base set of smells and then apply a personal set of smells atop it.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea, definitely. And I do work with that. Like I get a lot of custom orders where people, they dictate how it's made. They give me the material, like they give me the list of materials. I like craft it and then go back and forward with samples until they're happy with it.
Hey guys, we're gonna have to move on from this, but Brent, do you have something quick? Because we got to go through everyone's art project here.
Sorry.
Well, I was just going to deepen the conversation that we were on a little bit deeper, but I'm not sure. I wasn't sure of the itinerary. Let's go on to the next thing.
I'm happy to chat with you later about it, Brent, at any time.
Yeah.
Leave us a flavor of what you were gonna say, and then we can move on. Just a scent.
Well, it's just all dawned on me because I always thought that I had like a limited sense of smell compared to other people. That was just my assumption. But what I'm understanding now, Alex, is that what we think is our sense of smell just may be what our neocortex has processed. I mean, we may have like a very excellent, even extraordinary sense of smell that we don't even know of. We don't even know that we have because it bypassed the neocortex altogether.
Mm-hmm.
Is that?
Yeah, you might just react to it, not knowing, right?
Well,
yeah, that's very interesting.
I don't. A lot of people say I can't smell at all. I don't smell too often, but like if I left the burner on in the kitchen or something, sooner or later I'll smell something burning. You know, like wow, and go up and get it. So I know it works at an extreme. But on the other hand, the acuteness of smell may be not only what we're aware of. In other words, we may think we have an excellent sense of smell, or more so than another person who may actually have at a limbic level, a more extraordinary sense of smell. Anyway, that was just I was just kind of like grokking that for the first time. Anyway, thanks. That's all I had.
Thanks, Brent.
Thanks, Brent. Yeah, that's a very interesting idea. And okay, so I'm going to screen share the submissions we got for the art piece. And I did not make a poll yet because I was still getting submissions in late today, but we will make a poll and have some potlatch given out to whoever gets the most votes. And this will be, it'll be anonymous, so you guys can just pick whoever you think you want to gift potlatch to, and from the group it will go to that person or possibly the top 2 people that get the most votes. But yeah, we'll have to figure that out because James is now working on the ability for groups to give potlatch. So that's a really exciting thing. Let me just open this, and did anyone want to share first? If so, raise your hand. Nancy, was that a hand raise? No. Okay, well, I can go first then, or actually Alex. Oh, Brent, you're there too. Brent, did you send me your piece?
No, I'm just lowering my hand from before.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Can I
Andrew
just
is there.
ask a quick question? I might be asking for other people too. I didn't submit my piece, but I have my piece. So what do we want to?
You just let me know when you want to show it, and you can show it on camera, or and talk about it there, or you can quickly put it in chat, or if it's a document on your computer, or you could take a photo of it and send it to me. Those are kind of your options there. So I'm gonna have a look here, and Andrea's got her hand up there. So for those that are listening that do not know what's going on here, we all picked words last week, and all those words went into a list, and that list, everyone took all the words from that list and decided to create a piece of art with that, either a poem or a drawing or whatever they saw fit to make. And kind of the the more random, the better, and just use your intuition. That was kind of the guidelines there, but use the words to make something. So this is what we have all come up with. I'm just going to move to your piece, Andrea. And then screen share it. Okay. For some reason, it's not showing up. Would you want to share what you have there, Alex? I've got that one here. Here we go. Let's bring that up. And then I'll find the rest as we go. So here is your photo. Does everyone see that? Oh, no, that's the wrong one, isn't it? Okay. Everyone see that? Okay.
Yeah, I can see it, Michael.
Alex, why don't you describe what you've got going on here? It looks awesome, by the way.
I think I just started with that daydream of, and what I did, I just closed my eyes. I had all them written down. I just first went through with a pen, just picking random ones. And so it just really came out in a random order. And I just kind of tried to do it a little artistically and see where it led. But it said, daydream of valor ending, changeful sigils elevate the dialectric synchronicity. I don't think that even makes sense, but Star Side of Philadelphia, the Curses Symphony is auspicious. And then the rest of them didn't really blend in, and I got a bit more abstract with those, like Holy Frontiers, Receptacle of Time, Conflagration, Acceptance, Sea, Anecdote, Character, Melancholy to Joy, and Vivacious Stars kind of in the middle there. But yeah, it's just kind of like on the spur of the moment, a bit of inspiration to do it.
That's very cool. I like it a lot. All right, everyone get a good look at it. We're going to move on to Nancy. And sorry if we're rushing here, but we've only got 15 minutes or just less than 20 minutes left. Okay. Nancy, would you like the your art piece first or the words?
Well, the art piece, definitely the art piece.
Okay.
Because the words are in there, but you can't really read it.
Right.
It's in the surrounding.
This is really cool. Could you explain what you were thinking here and kind of what you felt as you went through this process?
Yes. Well, it took multiple days. So this was last Thursday, right? This was a great practice for me. So I did kind of come up with a story. I mean, it makes kind of sense to me. It might not make sense to everyone else, and I just kept seeing that the cosmic egg, you know, there's like ancient stones that replicate this and beautiful pictures of the cosmic egg. And I see each of us as like a vibrant star. I mean, we're just like these powerhouse conduits of what we're discovering is who we are, you know, just this electricity and magnetism. Anyway, the outer, so I drew like the egg and then the star, and, you know, had a couple days to think about the words. And then I went and watched my grandson, and he was doing this paint by stickers. And I'll try to be quick because I know we're running out of time. Sorry, Michael. And it was like stained glass. I'm like, oh, that's great for the outer. And I could put the words in the little stained glass. Anyway, so, and I just had fun. I used watercolors, pastels. So I've been doing art for a while. I mean, you know, very simplistic, you know, like paint night. But it's really profoundly changed. I have confidence in this area, which you would think I'd have like a ton of vitriol with this, and I have a little, but I really have alchemized a lot of vitriol with art, even though it might look elementary to some. I love that it, you know, that this part of me, this innocence that, you know, my you know, we all have the pureness, this innocence, and this power. Anyway, so I can read it, or you could put it up, Michael. But I could
Oh,
just
the
read
words, yeah. If you can read it, yeah, that'd
Sure.
be great.
Okay, so it is time for the ending of the platypus curse within the melancholy baloney sigil found in the Philadelphian characters. Our antidote is our auspicious, vivacious dielectric synchronicity within a changeful star-side sea. This valor frontier elevates a conflagration, new word I learned, conflagration symphony of acceptance, silence, joy, and dreaming. So just kind of like a transition, like the glass, the paint, like we're just gonna bust out. We are busting out of Babylon, as you know, as best as we can. I really enjoyed this.
I love it. It's so awesome.
I feel,
Thank you, Nancy. This
thank
is,
you, everybody.
it's amazing.
Thank you.
Okay. Let's see who wanted to go next. And thanks, Nancy, and sorry for you know, going over you so quick there, because I would love to talk more about it, but we're kind of rushed. We've got Amanda. Amanda, unmute yourself, and I'm gonna find your art.
Hi, everybody. So I went ahead and I did make a poem, or I put the words together, but I was more inspired to do like a piece of art. And so the piece of art that I did is, I kind of see it as like a self-portrait as such. It's basically of me, like with my head in my hands, and everything's like closing in around, like this narrative and the message that they keep pushing, a message of fear. And then from the top of my head is like coming this rainbow, which I'm not too happy with the way the color laid down in the rainbow, but I was using Posca pens. So that's why it's kind of, but then the rainbow's coming up out of me and it's raining around, and it's just kind of symbolic of just like my hope that I can like show like my children and future generations that, you know, there doesn't need to be fear. You know, there's like a little TV, an atomic bomb, a TikTok, and then of course like the mask and all that. So I actually like, I'm not too happy with the way it looks, but this is the first piece of art that I've done in a long time that I actually really like the message behind it. So, because I'll deal, you know, with little stuff, you know, drawing pictures of my dogs and stuff, but yeah, I like the message to this piece.
I love it, and I think it's really powerful. Yeah, it is a beautiful piece. And it's all these things that, you know, give us vitriol, and you still see the rainbow. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I really like it. And thanks, Amanda. All right, would anyone else like to share their piece?
I can read mine if you guys want to hear a reading passage, but I don't have it in a piece of art yet.
Yeah, please. And if you guys just want one sec here, if you guys don't want to share just right now, we can share next time, or else I can just put your piece of art up in the Esoteric Journeys feed, and we can all look at it there and comment there as well.
Michael, Sandra wanted to raise her hand, but she's having issues.
I just read that there. So why don't you read yours, Sean, and then I will get Sandra's up on the screen and we can have her next.
Sure. So mine is kind of interesting. I basically just took a free form to it. It's more of like a just writing. And then you're going to notice there's like 2 points where I sort of break away. It's because I was listening to music and the everything kind of went into synchro state, and the words of the music represented what I was writing. So the 2 pieces that it came from, I'll show later. But just for now, I'm just going to read it through. So, as I stumble round this clever quest, changeful, yet I am but the fool, a clever anecdote brought forth by a conflagrated notion of my buried soul deeply cast in the glass of time, melancholy in its intrinsic nature and of self-reflection. I must teacheth me my own light, a sacred right. For a soul's journey I must go, embarking toward the great mist. For it has found my heart, and now here I must follow. That's for it here I must follow. It is at this point I make the choice to elevate. To elevate is to arrive at my own acceptance. This intrinsic point is at Star's side of this clever emancipation of self. Though one must walk through the emancipation of other, for the purest freedom is a maintenance of belief. For you cannot remove the divine from anything. It exists in the all of the great symphony. When you arrive at the ceiling of everything, you also arrive at the floor of nothing. When you drop down to the place of nothing, you will arrive at the understanding that for it is the events, places, and that of all things that has brought you into the know of the nothing. Your relationship is the entire purpose of being. To misinterpret the divine is to lose sight of one's own facilities in the great cosmic wheel. The greatest symphony ever created, the unipolar, brought form into being. Yet it's in harmony. We can return to this sense of knowing. Relation allows us to refer back to the source, a place intrinsically familiar to being. We are all the receptacles of this message. We braved out an existence, so it is important to note that, well, think about how many people there really is, and that it is hard, and that is hard to fathom. And also how many billions of people have come and gone. And out of all those people, you're the only one that is like you. You're the only one who will ever be like you, who will ever completely look like you, act like you, talk like you, and think like you. You're the only one who has the ability to do the things that you can do. You'll find out all kinds of information about who you really are is locked up inside of you. Take advantage of that. Take advantage of all the opportunities that are around you right now. It will help you to be who you are supposed to be. It will help you fulfill your assignment in life, because we all have that. You are the greatest you will ever be. Go in there, get inside of you, find out who you are. You are the only one who can be you, no one else. You were born original. Let's wake up, reach for the stars, and the gap between us is timeless. Now that you know that you must elevate or get lost in the sea in the voyage of thought, what happens when the movie you're watching or the book you're reading, or you find out the character that you see in front of you is actually you? Well, what if I told you it is? You wrote this book, and so you call it life. For everyone, the never-ending story ends when the never occurs. Develop your sigil and leave your mark. Let it be known that the next time the wheel goes round, your diluted baloney will stand as a permanent impression of your being. Let out the dry of the ages. Let out to dry for the ages of your witness. Get a hold of joy for the sake of joy. Witness the ending of the final meltdown, the curse of the holy, the curse of being right. What the hell you know about this reality is a sham. Every person in Philadelphia sees a crack in the bell. Liberty with conditions is a clever ruse. So much as a crack in a bell. Your world is your shelter, your illusion. It's all illusion, to always be right. The notion you are what you have to show the world. A bold frontier rarely followed the unique path to illuminate your divinity. your emancipation, commitment to all, to raise the human purpose, potential, and being to all. Somehow, everything was different, like a new person had emerged from me. I could see myself in a new perspective that I'd never seen before. The time I felt I knew, it was that time I felt that I knew where I belonged. That time that the world was moving around me, above me, and through me. I could see everything and everything could see me. Namaste.
Beautiful, Sean. Good job, man. That was really great.
I like how you weaved all those words in there.
Yeah.
That was just a random free form too. I just like, what's the next word I have to use? What's the next word?
Yeah, that's epic. Very good.
Yeah, very beautiful. Okay, let's move to Sandra. Would you like to unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
Okay,
hear you.
great.
Can you see that?
Actually, the words.
The words first?
Yeah, I just had an image, and I put it down on paper this morning. But I had fun with it. I wasn't here last week, so I just went with that list, and anyway, I had a little fun.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead if you can see that.
Yeah, sure. Finding joy in a never-ending daydream, the melancholy man wanders on the star side of the sea. With his acceptance of the disappearance of time, he is filled with pure love as he roams the coastline in search of a new Philadelphia. On the shore of this new frontier, he realizes that the antidote of the curse is hidden in a vivacious young girl who plays with her pet platypus. She carries a sigil of purple and gold. The auspicious symphony of color attracts the melancholy man to her holy ground. His years of conflagration transformed his character, increased his valor, and made him a receptacle of changeful dielectric synchronicity. After a period of silence, he offers some baloney. She laughs.
That is great. I love this.
And then I had an image, so I did a little sketch this morning.
Yeah, let's check out this image. It's beautiful. And there it is. That's amazing.
Awesome.
I really loved that.
I haven't had a project in a couple of weeks, so I really enjoyed that.
Well, thanks so much for bringing it here, and thanks so much for sharing and coming and reading that for us. It's a very beautiful thing. We've got a few minutes left here. Does anyone want to say anything? I think we're going to have to do the rest of everyone next show. But Eric, you got your hand up. Why don't you, do you have something you want to say before we close her down?
Yeah, so, I'll probably read mine next time. But, I got to thinking as I wrote a short story using the words, and I didn't really finish the story. It was kind of the beginning of a story. And then I thought, it'd be really cool if other people wanted to collaborate on the story, and it could just get passed around, and everyone can add to it as much or as little as they wanted. And then we'll just see how it turns out, and, see who the person is that has the electricity to finally put an ending to it. And I know James had mentioned he wanted to start a collaborative writing group. And, I'm happy to offer up my piece as a beginning thing. If anyone's interested at all, I was going to read it tonight, but we don't have time. So I might actually post it up on the Dojo Earth on our Esoteric Journeys page. It's as a PDF, so you can read it there. It's only 2 pages. That's all I had.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. And I'm sorry to everyone that we didn't make time. That is my bad. I didn't manage time properly, but I really hope that you guys will bring it next time, and we can go from there. I just really enjoyed what Alex was bringing to the table, and I thought it was valuable stuff. So, and we still have your stuff. I really want to go through everyone's And I just want to say I love this picture, Sandra. And I maybe got a quick question for you. We've got the purple flag. Does that symbol mean anything?
It just kind of came to my head, but it actually is, I think, an astrological symbol for Aries.
Yeah, the ram, right on.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then I kept the spiral thing. She's feeding him a snail.
Oh, cool. That's interesting, talking about snails and then the purple, the yellow and red. Yeah, anyway, I'll share mine too next week. And thanks everyone for coming. It's been amazing. I'm really excited about this. And I will definitely try to do better with time next time. So thanks for being patient. And I hope you guys all have a wonderful evening. You can unmute and say goodbye, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
thanks, Michael. Thanks, Alex.
It was great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Love you
Yeah.
guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Alex.
Love y'all. Bye.